Yes, we do. And that is our main event of the evening for one of those world titles. This is the world heavyweight title now, right? Yeah, because Roman won that, but that's the belt that they made up like 4 years ago when he would only work 3 times a year. So now he's got that one. And this is what I mentioned when Cena said, now it's time for your main event. And then by the commercial breaks and the gaga, and then Jacob's entrance started. And then Roman's entrance took about twice as long as his entrance did. And then they did the introductions. So we were still not bad. They must have been double parked because it was only like 8.5 minutes from the start of entrances to they rang the actual bell. And I loved this match. I really did. Roman Reigns, this may have been my favorite Roman Reigns match because, you know, normally he does all the shit that he normally does. But in this case, he was doing much of it, yes, but it was better to me because he had somebody that was actually kicking the shit out of him. And maybe it's because he felt like he had to. He's always working with Punk or he's always working with Seth or guys that are already made. And maybe he needed to make Jacob a little bit more here, and that was more exciting to me. But it was a fucking slobber knocker, as JR would say, a slugfest. And yeah, I'm sure there was some Paul Heyman influence as far as what do the kids say, spamming a few of the Superman punches or whatever. But the people were up for this, and even if they did a big move or got a big false finish, they would sell enough to where it was plausible they would get up. They had a lot of false finishes, but they had a good pace to the thing as well. But I think the biggest thing is there are still people they like Fatu. When they did a yay boo at one point, I was hearing a yay yay. There wasn't. These were two mean guys doing mean shit to each other, but it wasn't like anybody wanted to necessarily boo either one of them until at the end, and that's what I liked about this thing the most. By the end of this thing, and after the match, we'll talk about the finish in a second, but it seems like they've recognized that they cleaned Jacob Fatu up too much, and they're trying to now make him more dangerous. The Tongan death grip, the shit that he's doing, whether during or after the match, where he don't particularly want to talk nice or give a shit. Does it seem to you like that they're trying to bring back what made people like him to begin with?
Well, especially at the end with the finish and the post-match. Yes, and that's what he should be. He's got to be a crazy maniac again, not a calm, here's the way I feel, Roman, I'm going to tell you right now. He needs to be a maniac. That's the way he should have come in. That's the way he should always be booked. That's the way he got over.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They were playing around with the thing. Well, I want what you got, because remember when he mentioned, I want the jet, and I want the jewelry, and I want and I want to send my kids to good schools. After I get the plane, the jewelry. I don't necessarily know that harping on that, he has 7 kids. Maybe he's an absentee father or something. I don't want to see this guy or picture him in my mind as having some type of happy domestic life, right? Maybe he's got 7 kids. He's paying child support on all these sumbitches. And he was one parole violation away from going back before the WWE thing happened. And he has a moral code to him. That's the thing, because eventually he needs to be a baby face. But Jimmy Snuka was a violent, savage, jungle animal in almost every territory he was big in before he switched and became Superfly. Jacob just needs more time as the werewolf. I don't think they need to concentrate on whether he's happy domestically and I don't even know if he would want jewelry or not. He just wants to prove he's the best. He wants to go out there and take the shit and gnaw on the bone. And then you can develop that he has a moral code, that he just wants to fucking show that he's the dominant man in the world. And if somebody like Heyman or some other shyster individuals were trying to do so, he can then blow that off. But don't make him a nice guy, and don't make him domesticated for this environment. So anyway, that's what they basically did. They had a slobber knocker. At one point, Jacob powerbombed Roman through the announce desk. But there were plenty of spears, and there was plenty of Superman punches and the occasional moonsault. And finally, and that's another thing, is that both these guys can sell in their own distinct way, rather than both of them trying to sell like they're Ricky Morton. That wouldn't work. But they're really milking the Tongan death grip. And finally, going home, Jacob got the grip, and Roman was slumping, but he fired up and went to the eyes, and they squashed the referee. And they squashed the referee, and that gave Roman a chance to fucking do 2 Superman punches and then a Superman off a pop-up and a spear, but the referee rolls over, 2 count. Holy shit. And then Jacob got the grip again, and Roman really fight. I like the panic. When Roman Reigns gets panic on his face, it stands out. That's the one thing about him, because he's always so calm and reserved. The panic stands out. So Roman is fighting to do something and rips the turnbuckle pad off, and it is the referee is taking it away from him. He turns around and runs Jacob into the turnbuckle, hits the spear, boom, 1, 2, 3. But all is not well in the family, because Jacob got back on Roman and got the grip. And Samoan dropped the referee, and here came the agents and Pierce and all the officials, and he super kicked poor Shane Helms and threw Pierce out of the fucking ring. Nice bump at him, by the way, after all this time. And then he had the grip on Roman, and nobody could pull him off. And this is the fucking werewolf, right? This is what we need to see. And then finally he got off and he started to leave. And then he ran back in and got another fucking grip. Oh, goddamn. And then he got the belt and stood over Roman. So he may have done the job, but the picture we're left with was him holding the belt and standing over Roman's carcass. So obviously, this can't be over, because you just know Roman's going to have to do something about that.
Yeah. And Jacob lost, but he went over strong because of the post-match, and he doesn't lose anything by not beating Roman Reigns because of that. I honestly wish they hadn't rushed into the story up to this point to get this match in the ring so quickly. But now if they'll step back and, well, let's do a few more flashbacks and just bring us up to date on a few more things in the family history or whatever, and give us a little bit more build up to the next one. That's fine. We'll work with them, since it's better than everything else that we're looking at. You got to think the next thing will be his confrontation with the Usos post-Roman Tongan death grip, or whatever. I don't know how you say that in that term. Beyond after Roman got the Tongan death grip.
Yes. They're going to have a conversation. So at least something's going on there, is what I'm saying. That, but again, in summary, 2 really good wrestling matches. Since we don't hardly see really good wrestling matches on any of the programs anymore.
Why not 3? You're saying 2. But you didn't have a problem with Rollins and Breakker. You didn't have a problem with Sammy and Trick.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, 2. Seth and Breakker and Jacob and Roman. Trick and Sammy was a good match, and those guys are pros. I mean, it's a middle of a card on a pay-per-view, or it's a main event on a really good television show, but it wasn't I don't know that they had reached the point yet where you'd pay to see that. Or, well, you don't pay to see anything anymore. Well, somebody's paying. But you know what I'm saying. So 3 good matches, 2 main event matches. It's come to this, that this is better than almost anything else we get lately. So I guess that's something to be happy about.
Well,
I love it when Dave Meltzer said, well, you know, there's so many great matches in wrestling these days that you can't even count them. I can't count them because I can't find them.
Well, that means you need to study. You need to study more and read. But there it is, WWE Backlash. Their backlash against the fans continues. And Jim, we shall return right after this short commercial.